Hello everyone and welcome back to Movie Chat, where it's all about the plot. My name is Rachel and today we are going to be discussing the movie Alien Romulus. With the release of the new series Alien Earth, I felt it was fitting to discuss Alien Romulus and why it actually fits in with the Aliens franchise, especially when compared to how other modern sequels are created for other horror franchises. Before we begin, if you are new to the channel and you enjoy this video, please be sure to hit the like button as well as subscribe so you never miss another video. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, Alien Romulus came out last year on August 24th and was directed by Fede Alvarez as an interquel, as the story takes place after the first Aliens movie and before the second Aliens movie. The film follows orphan teenager Rain Carradine and her android brother Andy, who live in a mining colony both dreaming of the day they get to escape to the planet Yavaga 3. However, since the journey would take years to get there, she and her brother team up with their friends to steal cryostasis equipment from an abandoned Yutani station, only for them to accidentally release a bunch of facehuggers, one of which impregnates one of their crewmates, leading them to being chased and attacked by the xenomorph as they attempt to escape the station before it is destroyed. The film was extremely successful among viewers, earning itself an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes and receiving extreme hype and praise on social media. There is so much to discuss about this movie. One of the most amazing things to me about this movie is the writing of Rain's character. One common misconception in modern horror sequels is that in order for a newly introduced main character to be interesting, they need to have some sort of connection to the legacy main character or be created as a parallel character to them. Now, often, filmmakers may do this as a way to attract longtime fans of the franchise to watch the movie, but most of the time, they do this so that way there is no separation from the original storyline. However, the problem with this is that this leads to a poorly written main character, with their connection to the legacy character being their only significant character trait, or them being written to parallel so closely to a legacy character that they don't feel original or interesting enough to the audience. Alien Romulus breaks this trend, as Rain neither has a connection to Ripley, nor is she meant to parallel her in any way. Instead of being made to be a copy of Ripley, we are given a brand new main character with her own interests, goals, and personality, who goes on to face the same alien creatures that Ripley does in the original Aliens movies. Now, are there moments where one can argue that Rain and Ripley are somewhat similar? Yes. Are they meant to be exactly the same? No. And even more so, they do this without deviating from the original storyline while still taking time to explore and develop Rain as a character. And I think they do this brilliantly without trying to push her too hard as the new face of the franchise, but rather a new character in the franchise who has had a similar experience with the xenomorphs as other alien characters. This also brings me to the writing of Andy's character. Andy in the film is programmed with the directive of doing what's best for Rain. In past Alien films, the androids are programmed with a specific directive and programming, though it is easy for them to experience glitches or for their programming to be changed, or if their programming requires them to go against someone in following and accomplishing a certain directive. Hence why, following the first movie, Ripley is hesitant to trust androids, as her crewmate Ash was secretly an android whose directive in capturing the xenomorph meant he didn't care if lives were lost. Yet, I feel like in this movie, there is a greater exploration of how the androids behave, process, and react to their environment around them. Andy in the film is shown to be gentle, kind, and slightly aloof, solely caring about Rain's happiness. Yet, he faces harassments and insults from the others in the group because, since he is an android, they believe he cannot be completely trusted. Especially since an android's directive may override the care and protection of the humans around them. Their crewmate Navarro recounts how the androids in the mines allowed humans to die due to their programming.
I sacrificed 3 miners to save a dozen.
Yet, he is not completely void of feeling. This is especially shown in his reaction to learning that because Yavaga 3 doesn't allow androids, Rain plans to shut him down and leave him behind. He is later upgraded by Rain to having security access to the station by implanting a control chip from one of the damaged androids, Rook. And here we see not only his programming start to change, but also his personality. Because of the chip, his directive is changed from serving Rain to serving the company. However, it's not a complete switch up. You can see this in the way he acts and behaves. When Rain confronts him about this in the elevator, he reveals that he's going along with the program because he is upset over her abandoning him. And this is significant because there is a part of him that realizes how dangerous the programming is, in the sense that the directive pushes him to neglect the lives of the crew. There is a sense of control and his own thought at work here, yet he still follows it because of how much more advanced and powerful he feels. He is no longer following everyone else, he is making his own calculated moves. In other Alien movies, we see the androids solely focus on their programming rather than having thoughts and goals of their own. The closest we see to an android being the opposite of this is in Aliens 4 with Annalee Cal. Annalee Cal was created as a type of android synthetic known as an auton. However, because the autons rebelled against the humans, majority of them were decommissioned. Along with Ripley, she reveals how, because she is a machine, she feels disgusting and wishes to be seen as more human. And to me, what's incredible about this plot point in Romulus is that rather than being revealed to us verbally, it's told to us through the actions and behaviors of Andy after he gets the chip. Just seeing the performance rather than being an immediate switch to a progressive change in personality was just so interesting to watch, and I'm really glad we got to explore that aspect of the androids more in this movie. One last thing I really enjoyed about this movie was the overall setup of it. When I first watched this movie, I found it interesting that rather than the characters being a bunch of adults, that it was a bunch of teenagers instead. Upon researching more about this movie, I learned that Fede Alvarez actually got inspired by a deleted scene which shows a bunch of kids playing together. In an article by Collider, Alvarez states, "My first instinct, just to try something different that hasn't been seen before, was to approach it from the angle of characters who are not professionals or scientists. They're not even adults. I like this concept of putting people in the front seat of the story who are closer to what the audience is. Not that the audience is young, more that the audience is completely virgin to the realities of space." In other Aliens movies, because the characters are all adults, there is a greater sense of experience, command, and hierarchy from being composed of professional scientists, soldiers, and pilots. As such, we, as the audience, witness them having a greater sense of strategy when facing the xenomorphs. However, because the characters in Romulus are all teenagers, it makes the movie much more chaotic and terrifying, especially considering how little experience they have when facing against creatures like the xenomorph. If anything, it really makes it that much more immersive for the audience. As we are watching, we can feel the teens' indecisiveness and fear that we would likely feel if put in a similar situation. Because these are teenagers without proper experience or training to deal with this, there is no sense of hierarchy, strategy, or what the right thing to do is, thus creating this horrifying situation where, rather than feeling calmly navigated by professionals, we feel the same rush and panic that they do. Another thing I like about this change is that it actually allows us to explore the world of aliens and the people living in it on a smaller scale. We understand how these people live and how they could potentially be affected by the existence or the confrontation of the xenomorph, which is very similar to some of the Marvel shows on Disney+. Now, whether you hate or love any of the Marvel shows, one excellent thing they do that the movies don't is give us a closer view of the people in that universe and how they could be affected by catastrophic events like the invasion on New York and the blip. I personally enjoy this because we understand more about the aftermath of certain events for civilians, which helps a lot with world building for the audience. With this point of view, we get to see things in Alien Romulus that we've never seen before, such as life in the colonies and tensions between humans and androids. With this movie occurring between the first and second movie, we get to see how others have been affected by the xenomorph during the time of Ripley's sleep, as well as the company starting to study the xenomorph. This also points to the beginning of the company's willingness to endanger civilians over obtaining the abilities of the xenomorph for the human species, as seen in Romulus with Kay being tricked by Rook into injecting herself with the face-hugger's fluid. Honestly, I really enjoyed watching Alien Romulus because, unlike most horror sequels or requels, it doesn't try to force itself as modern, nor does it heavily depend on the past Alien films. Instead, it takes a different angle in terms of plot with new characters that are able to carry the story and engage the audience. For me, I feel like one of the main reasons why modern horror sequels aren't as good is because it tries to outperform other movies in the franchise to make it more appealing to audiences. However, this sometimes falls flat because it overcomplicates the story, or it just isn't written to be as compelling or fitting into the franchise. To me, Alien Romulus sets itself apart from other horror requels by creating a new storyline within the universe without erasing it or trying to perform better than its predecessors. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please let me know which movie or movie trailer you guys want me to cover next in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button as well as subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.